Till now we have seen that either discussing about big O or omega or theta, we have seen that there is a function which is growing like this, which is the actual time taken by the algorithm, and n is the input size. But in practice, even though we are saying that this is the time taken by the algorithm to exist, but when you write it into the program and execute it, this is not the real time. This is just an approximation. It means that if f of n increases for the algorithm, for the program time increases. If f of n decreases for the algorithm, for the program time decreases, which means this is not actually the real time. It is just an approximation. And now let's see how to find out this f of n, which means what is the approximate time taken by an algorithm to finish. That is just an approximation, right? So how to approximate the time taken by an algorithm? So in order to find it out, first of all we should understand that there are two types of algorithms. Okay, so algorithms are of two types. One is iterative algorithm and other is recursive. Okay, so coming to iterative algorithm, the algorithms will look like this. So if I have for I equal to 1 to n, so we are doing something, so max of a comma b, something like this, right? So if you are doing it in a for loop or while loop or do while loop, then it is generally called iterative algorithm. And recursive algorithm is like this. If there is a function a which takes an input of size n, and it is again computing the value in terms of the same function a, something like this. So if a is calling itself, then it is called recursive, and if there is no function calling, and if it is having a for loop or while loop, then it is called iterative function. It is worth noting that any program that could be written using iteration could be written using recursion, and any recursion can be converted to iteration. Therefore both are equivalent in power, so nothing is more powerful than the other. That is one thing you should note. And the second thing is how to analyze these programs. They basically differ. So in order to analyze such an iterative program, we have to count number of times a loop is going to get executed, one thing. And if you have to count the iterative program, I mean if you have to find out the time taken by an iterative program, we use recursive program, we use recursive equations, which means we write a function of f in terms of function of n by 2. It is f of n and it is f of n by 2. So both of them, the analysis wise both are different, the power wise both are same, but analysis wise both are different. In case if the algorithm does not contain either iteration or recursion, then it means that there is no dependency on the running time on the input size, which means whatever is the input size, the running time is going to be a constant value. So if there is no iteration or recursion inside the program, you need not worry about the time at all. It is going to be constant time. So for such programs we write order of 1. Order of 1 represents constant time. Let's now see all the examples of some examples of iterative programs, which will give us some depth about how to analyze this. See the first example. In this example, in this algorithm, we have an integer I and we have a for loop, and for loop is writing one more thing. Whatever code I am writing, it is not corresponding to the syntax of any programming language. You can just consider it as a general English. Okay, so there is an integer I. For I equal to 1 to n, printf Ravi. How many times this name will be printed? So how it will be printed is, for I equal to 1, I equal to 1 to n. Therefore for I equal to 1 to n, which means total n times this line will be printed, right? Therefore I say that the complexity of this algorithm is order of n. Okay, in case if I have something like this, instead of this only n, if I have again int I comma j, I have it, and I have for j equal to 1 to n, printf Ravi, right? Then how does it work? So this one is going to, outer loop is going to run n times, and for every time outer loop runs, inner loop runs n times, which means totally it will get executed n square times. Then in this case the time complexity is going to be order of n square. If we have one more loop, in nested loop, then again it is going to be order of n cube. That can be extended. See this question is important. This has been asked in GATE 1991. So I have just changed the program. They didn't ask this exactly printf Ravi. I just changed it. Now see how many times this while loop is going to get executed. There is I and j, two variables, and then while s is less than or equal to n, which means s is going to start with 1 and it is going to go till the point where s crosses n. So how is I incrementing? I is getting incremented in steps of 1, and how is s getting incremented? Every time you enter the loop, s is going to get incremented exactly by a value of I, which means the increment in I is linear, but the increment in s is actually depends on I. Let's see how these two I and s are getting incremented. Initially I is 1 and s is 1, right? So when it enters one time, how much will I be incremented? By 1. And how much will s be incremented? S equal to s plus I, which means whatever is this, whatever is s, to that you have to add I, which means these two will be added and we are going to make it 3, right? And then this is second time, and again one more time when it enters the loop, I is going to be incremented by 1 and s is going to be incremented by whatever is the value. So s value plus I, which is 6, and again it is going to be incremented by 1 I, but then s is going to be incremented by 6 plus 4, which is 10, so on. So maybe do one more time, 5, 15, one more time, 6, 21, so on, right? Now when is this thing going to stop? When is this entire loop going to stop? This entire loop is going to stop whenever s value reaches a point where the value of s is greater than n. So whenever s reaches a value which is greater than n, okay, so if you cross the value of n, then it is going to stop. So let us say I don't know how many times it is going to get executed. Let me say k. By the time we reach k iterations, I am saying that this while loop is going to be stopped after k iterations, and after k iterations the value of s has to be greater than n. That is what I say. Therefore, what will be the value of s after k iterations? That is what we have to find out. Now if you see the value of s, how it is increasing is, for I equal to 1, s equal to 1, for I equal to 2, s equal to 3. So if you observe this, it is nothing but sum of the first two natural numbers is s value, which is nothing but 3, and when I equal to 3, s value is sum of the first three natural numbers, and when I equal to 4, s value is sum of the first four natural numbers. When I equal to 5, s value is sum of the first 5 natural numbers. See, when I equal to 1, it is 1, and when I equal to 2, s value is 1 plus 2, which is 3, and when I equal to 3, s value is 6, 1 plus 2 plus 3. When I equal to 4, s value is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, 10, right? Which means by the time I reaches k, s value will be sum of first 10 natural numbers, which means s value will be k into k plus 1 by 2. By the time I reaches k, s value will be sum of first k natural numbers, which is k into k plus 1 by 2. Now if this loop has to stop, then k into k plus 1 by 2 has to be greater than n. So from this equation it is clear that this side I will get a function in terms of k square plus k by 2, and this side I get a function of n, which means the number of times I get executed, that is k, is actually order of root n. Okay, therefore this loop will get executed in order of root n times. Okay, read this example first. For I equal to 1, I square less than or equal to n, I plus plus, printf Ravi. How many times this will be printed is, uh, I is going to run from I square till I square is going to be less than or equal to n. So one other way of writing this is, instead of writing I square is less than or equal to n, we could write I is less than or equal to root n. Therefore this loop will run from for I equal to 1 to root n, which is nothing but this one will be this statement will be executed exactly root n times. Therefore the total number of times this one is going to get executed is root n. So the time complexity is order of root n, right? And so in this case we should observe one thing is, the best case is root n and the worst case is root n, and even the average case is root n. Therefore it is even better if you write theta of root n. It doesn't make any difference, either you write big O or theta for such examples, it doesn't make any difference. In case if there is any break statement depending on something inside the loop, then we could have best case, worst case and everything. Okay, so look at this one next. This is interesting. We have I, j, k, n variables, and this outer for loop is running for I equal to 1 to n, which means this outer for loop will run totally n times, and the inner j loop, this one is running from j equal to 1 to I, which means this one will run the number of times this inner for loop will execute depends on the value of I. And the innermost for loop, this one, it is running for k equal to 1 to 100, which means the number of times the innermost for loop executes is independent of I and j. So it is a constant. So whatever happens, every time you get into this j loop, you will execute this 100 times. Okay. So how to analyze this is, just see what happens, what is the value of I, and for each value of I, how many times this one will be printed. That way we can actually unroll the loops. So I'm going to say, initially if I equal to 1, how many times will j loop be executed and how many times will k loop be executed in total. So j loop will be executed exactly for j equal to 1 to I, which means only one time, and k loop will be executed exactly 100 times for each j value. So j is executing one time, and for every time k will be executed 100 times. Therefore k will be executed 100 times in total. Okay. Now for I equal to 2, how many times j will be executed? J loop will run from j equal to 1 to 2, isn't it? For j equal to 1 to 2 means it is going to be executed 2 times, j is going to be executed 2 times, and this inner loop, this is going to get executed 100 times for each execution of j, which means k loop will execute 100 times for every time j is getting executed. How many times j is getting executed? 2 times. Therefore k is getting executed 2 into 100 times. Therefore this printf is going to be printed 200 times. Now for I equal to 3, let's see what happens for I equal to 3. For I equal to 3, j is going to get executed exactly for j equal to 1 to 3, which means 3 times, and k is getting executed. The number of times k will get executed is, for every value of j it will get executed 3 times, which means j is taking 3 times and k will execute 100 times for every value of j, which is nothing but 300 times, right? So now coming to I equal to 4, what happens is, for I equal to 4, j will get executed for I equal to 1 to 4, which means 4 times, and k will get executed 100 times for every value of j, which means k will get executed 4 into 100 times. And for I equal to 5, j will take 5 values, which means j will get executed 5 times, because j is from 1 to I, and for every time you get into j, k will get executed 100 times, which means 5 into 100, right? So on. For I equal to n, j will get executed n times. Why? Because j is going to take values from 1 to n, and for every time j gets executed, k will get executed 100 times, and j is getting executed n times, therefore it is n into 100. So if you take the total number of times this printf is going to be printed, it is 100 plus 200 plus 300 plus so on plus n into 100. So total number of times this printf is getting executed is 100 plus 2 into 100 plus 3 into 100 plus so on plus n into 100. So if I take out 100 as common, then what do I get? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus so on plus n, which is nothing but 100 into n plus 1 by 2. So which is nothing but order of n square, right? See this example. There are variables I, j, k, n, and outer for loop is running for I equal to 1 to n, which means outer for loop will run n times, and for every value of I, inner j loop will execute for j equal to 1 to I square, which means the number of times this j loop will execute depends on the value of I. If I equal to 1, j loop will execute 1. If I equal to 2, j loop will execute 4 times, which means j value is depending on I. So whenever there is dependency like this, you have to unroll it, which means what is unrolling is for every value of I, you have to check how many times this is going to get executed. In case if there is again a dependency, again you have to unroll it for every value of I, for every value of j, how many times it is going to get executed. Just see the dependency here. The innermost k loop is executing k is from 1 to n by 2, which means k is not actually depending on I or j, and k is the independent loop. Therefore you need not unroll j. So how to solve such a question is, see, I is executing from 1 to n, which means n times, and j is executing for every value of I 1 to I square, and k is executing 1 to n by 2. Then how to solve this is, for I, whenever I equal to 1, then j is going to get executed from j equal to 1 to I square, which means 1 to 1. J is going to execute it only one time, and for every value of j, k is going to execute it n by 2 times, and since j is going to be executed only one time, therefore the innermost k loop is going to execute it n by 2 into 1 times. For I equal to 2, j is going to get executed from 1 to I square, which means I square is nothing but 4. Therefore j is going to get executed 4 times, and for every execution of j, for every time j gets executed, k is going to get executed n by 2 times. Therefore total number of times k is going to execute it is n by 2 into 4. For I equal to 3, j is going to get executed 9 times, and for every time j gets executed, k is going to get executed n by 2. Therefore total number of times k gets executed is n by 2 for every time for each j, and there are 9 such j's. Therefore 9 into n by 2. So on, for I equal to n, j gets executed n square times, and for every execution of j, k will get executed n by 2 times, therefore n by 2 into n square. Now the total number of times this printf will be printed is, this Ravi will be printed is the total number of times k getting executed. Therefore what is that number? N by 2 into 1 plus n by 2 into 4 plus n by 2 into 9 plus so on plus n by 2 into n square. So if you pull out n by 2 as common, then what do I get? 1 plus 4 plus 9 plus so on plus n square. So it is nothing but n by 2 into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 by 6. Isn't it? Sum of first n square natural numbers. Sum of squares of first n natural numbers. It is nothing but n into n plus 1 into 2n by 2. So you could either even write it as order of the most significant term, n into n into n into n, which is nothing but n power 4. So always remember, if I have a function as f of n equal to n power k plus n power k minus 1 plus so on, you could write it as order of n power k, which means n power k can be used to bound this function tightly. Okay, so in this case it is going to be order of n power 4. Okay, see how is I going to be, see this example. I is 1 from I is going from 1 to n, and I is incrementing not in steps of 1, it is getting incremented doubled every time, which means here the increment is not linear, it is going to be multiplied with 2 every time. Then how many times will it get executed is, let's see how I is going to get incremented. I is going to start with 1 and then it is going to get double, which means 2 and then 4 and then so on, so till we reach a value where we reach hit n. Let us say it is going to take k iterations by the time we reach n, which means I is going to be 1 initially, which is nothing but 2 power 0 and then 2 power 1 and then 2 power 2, so on. Let us say 2 power k. At this point, 2 power k is equal to n and we stopped. Then how many times does it get executed is, when 2 power k equal to n, it is getting executed k times, right? This printf is going to be printed k times, which means 0 to k minus 1, and when actual value of this is 2 power k, which is equal to n, we are going to stop. Then what is the value of k that we get is, k is going to be log n, which means we are getting executed log n times. Therefore we can even say the total number of times it gets executed or time complexity is order of log n. Okay, now so whenever you remember it, whenever I is running from 1 to n and if I is incremented in terms of 2, then the time complexity is going to be log n base 2, right? In case instead of 2 if you had 3, then it is going to be log n base 3. In case in terms of in place of 3 if we had 6, then I is going to be then the time complexity is going to be log n base 6. So whatever it is, in terms of this value, this number, you have to write log n base that number. In case if it is going to get executed incremented in terms of 10, then the for loop is going to executed log n base 10 times. Okay, so that depends on what is the steps of increment here. Now depending on that question, let's answer the second question here, depending on the first question. See this, for there are 3 variables I, j, k. For I equal to n by 2 to n, which means this I is going to run for n by 2 times. From n by 2 to n means this one is going to run for n by 2 times, and this one is going to run for j equal to 1 to n by 2, which means again this is going to run for n by 2 times. And now this one for k equal to 1 to n, k is getting incremented in steps of 2. We have already seen that if there is any such loop, then that gets executed log n base 2 times, right? So there is no dependency, every loop is running independently, therefore you need not unroll the loops, you could directly take it and multiply like this. So the total time that they get executed is, that printf get printed is n by 2 into log n base 2. Therefore what is this total time? Order of n square log n base 2. This is the total time. Okay, see this example. For I equal to n by 2 and I less than or equal to n I plus plus, which means this outermost for loop is going to get executed n by 2 times exactly, from n by 2 to n, right? And this one for I equal to one more thing, it might be n by 2 plus 1 or minus 1, there is a small difference, but however it is going to be order of n by 2, this one. Okay, it has to be strictly I less than n, then only it is going to be n by 2 times, but now understand that it is going to be n by 2. So this one, for I equal to 1, I less than or equal to n, it is going to be incremented in steps of 2, which means it is going to double. It is not incrementing linearly, so we have already seen that for such a loop it is going to be log n base 2. What if it is I is less than or equal to n by 2, then it will be log n by 2 base 2, right? Then this one is for k equal to 1, k less than or equal to 1, k equal to k into 2, which means k is again keeping on doubling until we reach n. Therefore even for this it is log n base 2, right? So how many times will this printf be printed is n by 2 into log n. So that is nothing but n by 2 into log n base 2 whole square, right? So what is it? It is order of n into log n base 2 whole square. That is how we write it. So order means we just remove the constants and we let the most significant term remain. What is the most significant term here? N into log n base 2, right? And next one is, look at this example. Assuming that n is greater than or equal to 2, which means n is going to start from 2, what will be the number of times this program will get, this inner loop will get executed is, initially when n equal to 2, we enter the while loop once, and by the time we come out of the while loop, n will be 1. Now n is not greater than 1, therefore it will stop, therefore only one time. If n equal to 2 power 1, this while loop is getting executed only once. If n equal to 2 power 2, which means 4, then we enter the while loop once. By the time we come out of the while loop, it will be 2, and again it will get executed once, and by the time we come out of the while loop, it will be 1, and we will not go into it anymore, which means if n equal to 2 power 2, while loop will get executed 2 times. If n equal to 2 power 3, which means 8, we will enter the while loop once, and by the time we come out of the while loop, the value of n will be 2 power 2, and now again we enter the while loop once. By the time we come out of this while loop, the value will be 2 power 1, and again we enter it once. By the time we come out of it, the value will be 1. We are going to stop it. Therefore when the n value is 2 power 3, we are going to get it executed exactly 3 times. So assuming that n is a power of 2 and n equal to 2 power k, we can say that it is going to get executed k times, where k is log n base 2, isn't it? If we assume that n is a power of 2, which means n equal to 2 power k, then we can say that this loop is going to get executed k times. Therefore k is log n base 2. Therefore the number of times this one will get executed is log n base 2. If n is not a power of 2, let us say n is 20, then we enter it, and then by the time we come out of the while loop, the value of n will be 10, right? And then we enter one more time. By the time we come out of it, value of n will be 5. We enter it one more time. By the time we come out of it, value of it will be 2. We enter it one more time. By the time we come out of it, value of this will be 1, which means if n equal to 20, we get it executed 4 times, which is nothing but log 20 base 2, right? It is floor. Why? Log 20 base 2 is 4 point something, and it is getting executed exactly 4 times, therefore this. So the time you can say is order of log n base 2. It is enough, but even if you can put the floor, then it is fine, not an issue, right? So what you should understand here is when we are trying to start from a value and when we are trying to reach 1, not in steps of 1 but by dividing with 2, then it is going to be log n base 2. What if this is instead of 2, if it is 5? If it is 5, then the answer will be log n base 5. If it is 10, then the answer will be log n base 10. Okay, so this is an important model. See this example. For I equal to 1, I less than n, I plus plus, which means this loop is going to get executed n times, and internally for j equal to 1, j less than n, which means j is going to go from 1 to n, but the steps of incrementing j depends on I, which means there is a dependence between outer loop and inner loop. Whenever there is dependence, you always try to unroll it. Unroll means for the value of I, for each value of I, how many times the internal loop will get executed. Okay, so initially when I equal to 1, what happens is j is going to get executed from 1 to n, and the steps of increment is 1. Therefore total number of times j is getting executed is n times. Therefore total number of times printf will be printed is name will be printed is, for I equal to 1, it is n times. For I equal to 2, again j is going to get incremented from 1 to n, fine, but then the increment is in steps of 2, which means we'll reach n faster in this case. Why? Because j equal to 1, then 3, then 5, so on. Here j equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, but here j equal to 1, 3, 5, 7, so on, which means j will get incremented very fast, and the number of times this j loop will get incremented is executed is nearly n by 2 times, because we are not going to enter this and print Ravi for every value of j. We are going to print it only for the alternative values of j, which means it will be near n by 2 times. Now for I equal to 3, again j will get executed from 1 to n, but then the increment of j will be in steps of 3, which means 1, 4, 7, so on. Therefore it will even reach faster. J will reach n very fast, and the number of times we enter the loop is n by 3 times, so on. So whenever I equal to k, then j has to run from 1 to n, but then increment will be in steps of k. Therefore number of times Ravi will be printed is n by k times. And now when I equal to n, then j will run from 1 to n just in one step, which means in first time the loop will be 1, first time j value will be 1, and second time j value will be n plus 1, which means it will only get executed one time, right? So if you see this, which means n by n times, if you see this, the total number of times this printf will be printed is n into 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 plus so on plus 1 by n. So this is nothing but log n definition. So log n is nothing but 1 plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 plus so on plus 1 by n. Therefore it is equal to order of n log n. So that is the execution time of this. So let's analyze this program. N equal to 2 power k, which means n is given as a fixed constant and n's value depends on k. Okay, and for I equal to 1, I less than or equal to n, I plus plus. So I is running from 1 to n and it is incrementing in steps of 1. Why? Because it is in I plus plus, right? Therefore how many times will the outer for loop will get executed? N times. There is no change in it. Now coming to the internal loop, for j equal to 2, j less than or equal to 1, j equal to j square. So j is running from 2 to n, but not in steps of 1 or steps of doubling. It is actually getting squared every time, j equal to j square. So in order to analyze this, j value is depending on n. So n is 2 power k. So in order to analyze this, let's keep substituting the values of k. For k equal to 1, let's see what happens. For k equal to 1, what is the value of n? Value of n is 2 power 2, which is 4, right? Then how many times will this loop be entered is, initially j equal to 2 and j is less than 4. Yes, j is less than 4, therefore it will be entered. And then j equal to, next time is j square, which means j equal to 4, then j is less than or equal to n. Yes, true. Why? Because j is less than or equal to 4 is less than or equal to 4, which means second time it will get entered and printf will get printed. So when k equal to 1, then the total number of times we are printing this Ravi is 2 times, isn't it? And how many times will it get totally printed? N times, because n times we are going to hit this, isn't it? Therefore it is 2 into n times. In case if k equal to 2, then what happens is n value will be 2 power 2, which is nothing but 2 power 4, which is 16. N value will be 16. Then initially j value will be 2. Then the for loop will be entered once, because 2 is less than or equal to 16. Then j value will be squared, which means 4. 4 is less than or equal to 16 one time. It will again enter it. And again 4 will be squared, which means 16. Then again we are going to enter one more time. And then for k will be 16 into 16, which will be greater than 16, therefore it will not enter. Therefore the number of times printf will be printed for a value of k equal to 2 is 3 times, isn't it? 3 times it will be printed, and outer for loop will run always n times. Therefore it is going to be printed totally n into k time, n into these many times when k equal to 2. When k equal to 3, let's see how many times this enter, we enter j loop and print Ravi. So n equal to 2 power 3, which is nothing but 2 power 8, right? So j will be initially 2, we'll enter the while loop once, then j will be 2 square, we'll enter the while loop once, then j will be 2 power 4, we'll enter the while loop once, then j will be 2 power 8, 2 power 8 is less than or equal to 2 power 8, we enter once. Next time it will be 2 power 16, which will be greater than this, therefore we will not enter it. So how many times are we going to enter this j loop and print Ravi is 1, 2, 3, 4, which means if k equal to 3, we are going to enter 4 times. And what about this one? This one will already get executing n times, therefore total it is n into 4 times. See, out of for loop there is no change, n times, always n times, but then inner loop that depends on the value of k. How is it depending? If k equal to 1, it is getting executed 2 times. If k equal to 2, it is getting executed 3 times. If k equal to 3, it is getting executed 4 times. Therefore, if k value is k itself, then how many times it will get executed is outer for loop will get executed n times, and then inner j loop will get executed k plus 1 times. Therefore, this is the total number of times this this printf will be printed. Then I want the answer. If I want the answer in terms of k, only n's, not in terms of k. If you want the answer in terms of k, then you can substitute in place of n 2 power k. If I want the answer in terms of n, then what you should do is convert it. So n equal to 2 power k. Apply log on both sides. That implies log n equal to 2 power k, log n base 2, right? That implies log n equal to k. Therefore k equal to log n. So k here we get it as log n. So that equal to n into log n plus 1. So what is the leading term here? Leading term is n into log n. So total expression is n into log n plus n. So in which the leading term is n into log n. Therefore you can say that the time complexity is n into log n. Okay. So this is the time complexity of this algorithm. Fine.